We have serious breaking news out of Michigan where there was an active shooter, a mass shooting at a Mormon church north of Detroit. That church is on fire after the gunman's car crashed into the side of the church. The gunman then entered the building, essentially opening fire, targeting individuals at the church. Multiple people were shot at the church. At this hour, we don't have an update as to their status, whether or not they have passed away as a result of this shooting. But the gunman has passed away. That we have confirmation according to local authorities. But this is a very serious situation. It happened at the Latter-day Saints Church in LeBlanc, Michigan, which is about 50 miles north of Detroit. The church, after the gunman rammed into the side of the building, literally caught fire. And you could see smoke bellowing out of the church. It's a very serious situation. First responders are at the scene right now. I'll provide you more updates as we get them, so spread the word. Subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio to support my work. Follow along for all the news you need to know about. I will have much more to come very soon.
They're saying there is no longer an active threat to the public at this time, but this all started around 10:25 local time. We're hearing from officials in that presser that, as you mentioned, the 40-year-old male suspect drove his car and then exited the vehicle and then shot several rounds using an assault rifle. There were hundreds of people, according to police there, who were attending service this Sunday morning. And we are still waiting to hear the extent of the damage. We do know that 10 gunshot victims were transported to a hospital. One of those 10 unfortunately died. Some of them are in critical condition, others in stable condition. But authorities have been able to, as you said, neutralize the shooter in this active situation.
So according to the president, another left-wing nutjob has hauled off and gone on to attack the Christian right wing of America. Now all of this rhetoric that is coming out about the recent tragedy to happen at the Mormon church in Michigan should all sound very familiar to you. It should harken back the memory of the Charlie Kirk incident. Remember, after Kirk had passed away, it was declared without a doubt that it was an attack from the left, and this was declared by the president and other powerful right-wing figures like Elon Musk over on X. Now, we might be wondering, how is it that the president seems to know exactly what the motivations and the profile of these incidents or these assailants are, without any investigation being conducted and without any real information being received, and sometimes even seconds or minutes after these incidents occur? I mean, heck, for Charlie Kirk, they had arrested the wrong man. And yet still, even with zero information and the wrong man in custody, these were declared as if they were facts, not speculation. The reason this is being done is because of where we are at in regards to reality and the truth and how those play with media within our current society. So in our current society, the truth is very malleable. The core reality of a situation almost doesn't even matter, because when an incident like this occurs that is particularly traumatic or politically motivated, it creates an information vacuum. When incidents like this occur, psychologically, we as a people want to ground ourselves in reality in order to navigate the new trauma or traumatic information that we've received. When we go and search for something to ground us into this new reality and we can't find it, this is what we call the vacuum of information. Now, whomever can come in and fill that vacuum of information first can control people's perceptive reality or their truth. And this is all part of the process of creating multiple realities for a population to live in, or hyper-reality. Now, social media is very adept at doing this, and the longer that social media has existed, the more streamlined this sort of vacuum of information process has become. Because now we have a whole monetized ecosystem of politicians, influencers, talking heads, or even people who just want to get a few clicks, all rushing to comment on a situation that they really might not know anything about, but it has a great amount of reward if they can be the first voice in the room. Now, when a population has accepted something as their reality, it is very difficult, even if they are proven wrong, to get them to adjust their perspective on that reality. And we saw this play out with Charlie Kirk very potently. Now, incidents like what happened with Charlie Kirk, what happened with the Democratic senator and her husband, what happened with this string of mass pew-pew events, these are all going to become far more commonplace in the coming years, and they will eventually escalate. You know, right now there are little bubbles bubbling up to the surface, but soon this pot will be at a roaring boil due to the increase in tensions and the increased number of Americans who are becoming radicalized across the country. So as these incidents become more frequent and more vacuums of information are created, the narrative is going to get very murky. Right now, your media literacy is going to be more important than it ever was. So stay very critical. Keep in mind your sources of information and their motivations, and be very careful and discerning about what you consume during these times, because there are many people who are just speculating. And I have been one of those at times. So when people are speculating, be sure you have true your own compass and you have faith in your own critical reading abilities, but also remain flexible in your thought. Be open to be proven wrong. And if you see something that is absolutely 100% confirming a bias, try to prove your own bias wrong. It's about all we can do to try and suss our way back to our core reality.
So can we talk about how the fact that this attack today by this man, Thomas Jacob Sanford, was essentially Donald Trump's fault? This was 100% Donald Trump's fault. Because Donald Trump, instead of trying to calm people down across the board, instead of saying, like, look, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, it doesn't matter who you support, it doesn't matter, the political violence has no place in the United States. Something that a statement that Biden made, a statement that Obama made, a statement that most presidents have made before this fucking president. Before this president decided that he wanted to completely attack the left and completely attack all these people. Because this guy attacked the Mormon church. And why do you think he attacked the Mormon church? Could it be maybe because Tyler Robinson, who was a Mormon, is the one that shot Charlie Kirk, and this guy was out for revenge? Because Donald Trump decided that he didn't want to talk to people on a human level. He didn't want to actually be a human president. He wanted to continue his rhetoric against the left, against his opponents, because he's a fucking wannabe dictator.
Okay, as I strive for accuracy, I waited until enough information was out to make any kind of video on this. I'm of course talking about the shooting that happened in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Because you know that immediately everybody in the MAGA is going to scream that this was some kind of Antifa terrorist, right? When most of us who know the history know exactly what kind of person it was most likely to be. Because before we knew anything concrete about the shooter, they released a picture of his truck that he plowed into the wall of the Mormon church, which was a truck with 2 gigantic flags sticking out of it. And the only people who ostentatiously display a bunch of flags on their truck in their house are right-wingers. But again, I'm here to just display the facts. The suspect, who was taken down by police shortly after they arrived, was Thomas Jacob Sanford. They describe him as a family man with a wife and kids, and they made sure to mention that his voting information says no known political party affiliation. So remember that going forward as you see all of these MAGA making videos claiming that he's a card-carrying Democrat or something. As of the 5 o'clock press conference, which only lasted a couple minutes, the sheriff said they still don't know the motive of the attack. They searched the guy's house in Burton, which I guess is a town close to Grand Blanc, but they didn't release any other information on him or even if he was a member of that church that he attacked. And at the most recent update by the authorities, 10 people were shot, 2 of them died. Now, those are the facts we have at the moment. Everything that I just said is a verifiable fact. He was not a Democrat. He was not even listed as MAGA. He was listed as an unaffiliated voter. However, I'm going to add in my opinion right here. This right here that follows is opinion. I can't help the fact that a few weeks ago, when CK was unalived by Tyler Robinson, of course they all claimed that Tyler Robinson was some kind of hardcore leftist when we found out that he was a conservative, from a conservative MAGA family. But one of the key things is that he was a Mormon. And I even stated before that the whole point of Tyler Robinson being a conservative means that the conservatives are actually fighting each other. And I have this inkling in the back of my head, which of course at this moment is opinion, it is not confirmed, is that it could be possible that this guy blamed the Mormons for Kirk's death, and so he took it out on them. I mean, I hope that's not the case because that would incite some kind of religious war, but they are going to offer another press conference tonight at 8 o'clock, and I'll bring further information on this tomorrow.
Wanted to do another update, you guys, and I'm sorry about this. I should have done this in the last video when it comes down to that truck right here in this photograph that ended up ramming itself into that church. People are now asking in the comments, what does that plate say? Well, the plate is this right here, you guys, so let me know your thoughts in your comments over this way. Thanks.
Both shootings in North Carolina and Michigan were carried out by Marine vets, and as a Marine vet, I want to kind of explain some of the mindsets that I came across while I served. Okay, so there was at one point I was a Corpus course instructor, and during this time we was doing a Lance Corpus seminar. So we're asking the questions, why did everybody join? We come across one particular guy. He answers questions. He says he wants to know what it's like to kill somebody, verbatim. Before you ask, yes, he's a white boy. Okay, so he's answering this question, and I was like, all right, can you elaborate? He elaborates. He said he wanted to know what it's like to be in combat. He wants to know what it's like to be in war. He wants to know what it's like to, kill somebody. What does that feel like? And so I had explained to him and the whole class, like, that's not a normal mindset to have. You shouldn't have that. Seek therapy, seek counseling, because that's weird. And I personally do not agree with having that mindset, serving or not serving. I think it's strange. Infantry are the only people that I might give a pass for. But even then, I don't agree with having the desire to want to kill somebody. There's a difference between having the desire to protect and then having the desire to kill. That's two completely different things, okay? And so a lot of the times these people have these mindsets like this because they watch it in the movies. They see it in our history where it's a white man jumping on a grenade, a white man, gunning down 200 people, a white man doing something in a helicopter. Like, they see these stories and hear these stories, and they believe that their purpose will be fulfilled if they're in war or if they're in combat. And they believe that serving, that is important, but it doesn't have to be that way. This is why they harp so much a lot of times they harp so much in the military that everybody's role is important. You don't need to be in war. You hear all the combat stories from combat vets that come back and say, I don't know what the hell we were doing over there. We were just wasting time. We were killing people for no reason. We're doing stuff for no reason. They tell these stories, but for some reason they don't. It's like the ones who joined ignore all of those. They ignore those stories. They think that they need to have a story to tell somebody, and you don't. That's why a lot of them also join the police department, because again, they want to know what it's like to have a sense of purpose, and they want to have a story to tell one day. A lot of them want that. They want that experience so they can say that they did it. And it's strange to me, but that's just me. So again, the only time I okay the mindset, if you're infantry and you have to go to war, but even then, I still think the desire for it, nah, that shit weak.
I really wasn't going to post today, but then people got to go driving into churches because Morka. So this was the truck. I had to make sure, because I saw other white trucks that had driven into churches, again, because Morka. And this is really interesting because it's a 40-year-old white male. They're not really reporting that on mainstream media. And given that truck, I can see why. Haven't heard of any writing on the casings. Haven't had any step-by-step notes about how exactly he did this. And I get it. The whole thing's so frustrating because we've had just the last 2 weeks of everything's the radical left and stuff, and this is because of his beliefs. That's what the memorial was about. This is, against Christianity, and this is what they were going to try and use for propaganda. And yet here we are. Because it is very likely that he was some kind of Christian or somebody and wanted revenge for what happened to CK. I think a lot of people that have never been around the Mormon cult or maybe even Christianity in general, I think people look at it as just like they're all Christians. So just different kinds of Christians, but like not really. Not really. In the Mormon cult, you are taught you are not like the others. And specifically, Christian, no. Catholics were the great and abominable church, not Protestant, not like, they made you feel icky around them, like kind of scared or nervous. Like I know people that would get invited to other people's churches and they'd have panic attacks in there because the Mormons believe they only have the one true church. And you got to baptize everybody, dead or alive. Okay. We've baptized Elvis 5,000 times. Anne Frank, she's a marathon baptized person. You know what I'm saying? Like Marilyn Monroe, yes. In the afterlife, they're all Mormon. So, but Christians believe, a lot of them believe Mormons are a cult, which it is a cult. But they very much are different from them too. Now, the Mormon cult has tried to fit in more with Christians because Mormons have a hard time keeping people. Like they are losing members rapidly. So now they want to fit in more. They've changed their garments. You can wear a cross pendant now. I see that on here and it is so strange to me because before it was like it would burn a hole in your skin. You were terrified of them. And you know, tattoos isn't that big of a deal. More than one piercing isn't. Coffee, not that big of a deal. So they've been more relaxed about certain things for PR. But a lot of members believe how CK did, like, it's worth the sacrifice and people have to die to keep the Second Amendment, and people just stick. And they had a first-hand experience of that. And a lot of people that vote that way, they don't see what happens to those kids or the nightclub or whatever. Like they've been lucky enough to just hear about it on the news. But this is probably going to become more commonplace. Look how many shootings we've had the last couple days. This is going to continue. What is it? The beatings will continue until till we get this right. The beatings will continue. This is going to get scarier. It's going to get wonkier. This is like a religious, spiritual, political, societal earthquake. Like we are trying to shake this back to being good humans and stop this mayhem. And sometimes mayhem happens before that, right? Darkest before the dawn. So when it feels scary, remember darkest before dawn. But I also tell you guys, that there's factions over there on the right. There's different factions, and you're starting to see that between Tucker and Candace and Nick Fuentes, and then there was CK and Trump and JD and Peter Thiel. Like they all have their own agenda, no matter what sign they're painted under. And the churches over there are the same. And especially with Project 2025, I've done several videos where I said, look, these churches have beef because this is about money. At the end of the day, right? And Mormons, they are the wealthiest church on the planet. They have more money than fake God, and they want to keep it, right? They charge you 10% to be in there, or else you'll never see your kids again. It's coercion, it's emotional blackmail. That's how they run their church. People do things for free. There's tons of free labor. And not only that, you have to fast once a week for however many meals, and you're supposed to donate that many. Kids go on missions, they pay for the missions, and they are sent out to be rejected by the world, come back and go, oh my gosh, I feel at home, I feel safe here, and to have them be more allegiant and convince them that the world is scary and they hate you. And as they think that, the church or that Trump and this administration is going to keep power, they want to make sure they're the top church because they don't want to give up their tithing. They don't want to give up people going to the temples. They don't want to give up all the real estate. So they want to make sure that they're very fortified and close to the administration, like Elon Musk's right-hand guy is Mormon. A lot of people in the FBI are Mormon, CIA. So they try and be very close in the government. Anyway, so you have the factions in the politics, but you have it in the churches too. So when I say this is an earthquake, it really is, because it's really hard to keep saying the left is, out to get us because of our beliefs when it's other churches doing these things. And obviously this person had a mental health issue. That's ultimately what these things are. But it will be interesting to see, they'll probably just try and be real quiet about this and get away from it because it's real hard to pin this on a radical lefty right now. And, pointing to the left and right is never going to get us anywhere. And I keep showing you guys people are leaving, and we have to unite with the people that say that they want unity to stop this. Like when we do protests, people should all be in purple. You should have people that want this together. And the other thing is too, is these churches have supported Israel, and the people on the right are waking up to the monster that the Israeli government is. Like for the first time, they're going, oh my gosh, the genocide. Yeah, for the first time. They have different algorithms. They have different news than you. And they're going to friends and family going, did you know about this? No. I guarantee you my mom's friends don't know anything about the genocide. So, like I said, a lot of things are being shaken up and woken up, and we're just going to have to ride this out. And as long as we stick together, we can do that. As long as we are kind to the people on the right that are saying, I don't want to choose sides. I just want us to unite and do what we have to do to get through this and get the bad guys out of here and take care of each other and help each other. That's where we need to stay. That's what we need to do. That's why I think it's safer in protests if we have both groups there. We're in purple. Because if you get crazy people out there like this guy, which one do you choose? We're all purple, and they've all voted different ways. That's why uniting keeps us safer, and it keeps us stronger. So, lots of lessons learned today, I hope.